12 fattest countries in the world. Over the past 30 years, the number of overweight and obese persons has increased dramatically, rising from 857 million in 1980 to more than 2 billion in 2013. That's close to one-third of the world's population. In only 1 year, between 3 and 4 million individuals died as a result of obesity complications. While the United States is frequently cited as having the world's most obese people, there are a number of other countries that are closely trailing. People all over the world are becoming more sedentary. More people are having access to high-calorie, high-fat foods. But the severity of this case is different from one country to another. Here are 12 of the fattest countries in the world. 12. The United States. According to the International Obesity Federation, with 36.2% of its population having a body mass index of greater than 30, the US ranks among the 10 fattest countries in the world, and it's the fattest in North America. A total of 78 million people, 13 million of which are children in America, are obese. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the average adult is now 26 pounds heavier than they were in the 1950s. An updated survey by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development shows that the obesity rate among Americans 15 years and above reached a staggering 38.2%. This finds a place on this list for the country that gave the world the hamburger and the cronut. 11. Kuwait. Astonishingly, Kuwait has been listed among the world's most obese countries in the world. Before 2020, Kuwait was anticipated to be the most obese country in the Middle East, with obesity rates of 60%. According to the Kuwait Times, in addition to having alarmingly high rates of diabetes, the tiny Gulf state is also the place where most stomach stapling procedures are performed. An average of 5,000 operations have been carried out among the population of only 4 million. According to the research by the paper, Kuwait's burgeoning fast food sector is to blame for the challenge. Other sources attribute chronic overweight to a lack of sports facilities and activities in the oil-rich country's urban areas. 10. Micronesia. Micronesia is a nation in the Western Pacific Ocean, located in the Western Pacific Ocean. It's made up of more than 600 islands and islets in the Caroline Islands and is separated along cultural and linguistic lines into the states of Yap, Chuuk, Pohnpei and Kosrae. Although the government has made some progress toward reducing obesity, some 55.2% of women and 44.4% of men are obese. Micronesia has the greatest case in the area, with 31.7% of all females and 30.5% of males classified as obese. The overall percentage of obese people in Micronesia stands at 45.8%. 9. Kiribati. In Kiribati, a tiny island with a population of less than 100,000 people, malnutrition is a serious health risk factor. The Kiribatians have progressively expanded their intake of low-quality imported food that is heavy in salt, sugar and saturated fat in recent decades, despite the availability of plenty of fish and locally produced foods. Approximately 38% of males and 54% of females aged 20 and above are considered obese. The overall percentage of obese people in Kiribati is around 46%. Type 2 diabetes affects an additional 30% of the population, according to the CDC. Cardiovascular diseases have been responsible for 20% of all fatalities in Kiribati in the last 2 decades, while diabetes accounted for another 7% of the population during this time. 8. Samoa. Located amid the gorgeous seas of the South Pacific, American Samoa is an unincorporated US territory where a shocking 43.4% of the population is considered obese. Malnutrition has become endemic in this place, with a large proportion of the people relying on processed, low-quality meals imported from America. Moreover, a lack of health education is a contributing factor to the prevalence of overweight, obesity and chronic illness on the island. During a visit to a diabetes clinic in 2017, Sophie Morgan, a foreign writer for the British Guardian, spoke with a 28-year-old American Samoan woman who was unsure of how she had gotten the disease or how to treat it. Meanwhile, some researchers believe that Pacific Islanders are naturally inclined to acquire more weight than their Western counterparts because of their genetic makeup. 7. Tonga. Tonga, a monarchical nation on a Polynesian archipelago in the South Pacific, is another one of the fattest countries in the world. Approximately 57.9% of the Tongan population is classified as obese. No thanks to weight-related problems, Tonga's life expectancy has dropped to 64 years. In Tonga, up to 40% of the population suffers from type 2 diabetes, and the late Tongan king, Taufa Ahau Tupou IV, holds the global record for being the heaviest monarch to have ever lived, weighing 441 pounds. A major contributing factor to Tonga's alarming obesity epidemic is the importation of inexpensive fatty chunks of meat from New Zealand known as mutton flaps, which are known for their high-fat contents. According to the BBC, the tiny island nation also imports vast quantities of low-quality turkey tails from the US, which Tongans consider as being socially superior to domestically farmed fish and meat. 6. Niue. Niue is a South Pacific island that is roughly 1,500 miles away from New Zealand. The island, often known as the Rock or the Rock of Polynesia, has a land area of around 101 square miles and is a popular tourist destination. It boasts one of the world's most obese populations, with about half of the adult population classified as obese. 5. Tuvalu. Tuvalu is an island republic in the Pacific Ocean that lies almost midway between Australia and Hawaii. It consists of a collection of reef islands and atolls. The total land area is around 10 square miles. Tuvalu is one of the world's most obese countries. In Tuvalu, over 51.6% of the population is considered obese. 4. Marshall Island. The Marshall Islands are a collection of 5 islands in the Pacific Ocean that are home to a diverse range of wildlife. According to the results of a nationwide study, 62.5% of the whole Marshall Islands population was classified as overweight. In the Marshall Islands, vitamin A deficiency, as well as cardiovascular disease, diabetes and hypertension are all serious public health problems that must be addressed. According to the World Health Organization, the rapid worsening of the weight crisis across the South Pacific has been traced to an increase in the number of imported goods being consumed. Health officials, on the other hand, assert that one of the reasons for such severe weight problems is the disproportionate body mass index among Polynesians, who typically have longer bones and heavier muscle mass than their Caucasian counterparts. 3. Palau. Palau is a collection of 340 islands located in the western Pacific Ocean south of Japan, and it is home to around 20,000 people. The islands are captured in the United Nations Development Programme, the UNDP. Despite the fact that Palau is blessed with an abundant wildlife, breathtaking scenery and clean beaches, the country is also afflicted by substantial health issues, the most serious of which is chronic obesity. Around 78.4% of the Palauans are either overweight or obese, while 47.6% are classified as obese. Diabetes and liver disease are common causes of hospitalization in Palau. Cardiovascular disease and a wide spectrum of malignancies are also on the rise. This increase is linked to dietary and environmental factors. 2. The Cook Islands. The Cook Islands are a collection of 15 islands in the South Pacific Ocean that form a country of their own. The Cook Islands is the second most obese country on this list. Some 90.1% of Cook Islanders are estimated to be either overweight or obese, while 55.90% are classified as obese. According to a study conducted by World Health Organization in 2017, more than 30% of youngsters in the Cook Islands were obese. Several behavioral, socio-economic and environmental factors contribute to the worrisome obesity levels in the Cook Islands, according to the Ministry of Health. The ministry has announced intentions to strengthen nutrition education programs in schools. Researchers have frequently asserted that governments in the South Pacific have historically been hesitant to spend on creating awareness about health and nutritional concerns in the region. 1. Nauru. Nauru is an island republic in the Central Pacific Ocean that is the third smallest country on the planet. Germany, Australia, New Zealand, the United Kingdom and Japan had all occupied the territory at various times in the past. It gained its independence from Britain in 1968. Nauru has a terrible reputation for being the home of the world's most obese people. Around 61% of the population of Nauru are obese. If we include overweight persons in Nauru, the number of people with abnormal weight will be considerably greater. Nauru's entire population is facing an increase in cases of type 2 diabetes, heart disease and renal disease as a result of the obesity epidemic in the country. It appears South Pacific is the location of most of the fattest countries in the world, as you can see. Obesity and associated health risks are becoming increasingly prevalent, and it is linked to a wide range of disorders. It should be treated as a significant public health issue. Governments should take proactive measures to bring the pandemic under control. Thank you for watching this video. Please don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell.